Bochra Manai, Deborah Forde. Welcome to Radio Canada International.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. And I've invited you because I get tons of press releases every day. And there was one that really caught my attention. This is about creating Canada's first Muslim theater. But before we go into it, maybe, Bochra, you can explain what the Silk Road Institute is and why you decided to create this theater.
So the Silk Road Institute was created a few years ago to give spaces for underrepresented communities, but of course for Muslim communities, spaces for culture. We needed to have our spaces to share and to tell our narratives. So we started with concerts. We invited authors to share their experience of launching a book, etc. And after a few years, our president Mohammed Shaheen came with this wonderful idea that we needed a theater workshop or a theater company. So I think we're working on it since 3 or 4 years, and finally after we had the financial support of Michael Jean Foundation and of In Spirit Foundation, and we finally can offer this experience of theater to all Canadian, to all Quebecers, to all Montrealers. But of course, it's a way for us to give a space for underrepresented communities and Muslim communities.
Deborah, when did you get on board this adventure?
I climbed on the train in April of this year. I was referred to the project by Tisri Dunya Theatre, the AD there, Rahul Varma, who has been incredibly supportive. He recognizes the need to diversify voices. And so I believe he's been with the project for 3 years. And so when they finally were ready, he came to me and said, "Hey, Deb." And when Rahul says, "Hey, Deb," I jump.
So tell me about this production. It's called the Crusaders, the Domestic Crusaders.
Excuse me. Yes.
Why display and why now?
We chose this play because, of course, it's a play that is it talks about the experience of Islamophobia in the U.S. after 9/11. It's a family talking on a Sunday, I don't know, afternoon or evening, but it's about how Islamophobia has impacts on our everyday lives and everyday conversations. So for us, it was important to start the company with one of our issues, one of the issue we confront as Muslim minorities in Canada or in North America, and Islamophobia as an issue is one of the thing we wanted to discuss and to showcase.
Mm-hmm. Deborah, what was it in this play that really attracted you?
What I love about this play is something I tend to lean towards in theater. We have a play that looks at these huge meta issues, but puts it in the heart of one family. The writer isn't wagging his finger at us and trying to proselytize us. What he does is he lets this family tell us and show us their story and let us understand what it's like to be inside of that. Now, why did I want to tell this story? We all have our 9/11 stories, our own experiences. And one of the things that stuck with me after the 9/11 I'm going to say story, the event itself and everything that fell behind after it. We put a lot of focus on the people who were hurt, which was important. We put a lot of focus on the people who did this. What we didn't look at was the impact on the everyday guy, what it was like to have something happen in the outside world that changes one's identity. Imagine being who you are every day and never having to think about who you are. That's just who I am, and everything's honky-dory. And then all of a sudden, something happens in the world, and the rest of the world is suddenly looking at me in a different way. Not just different, but like I'm evil, like I'm dangerous. My next-door neighbor has suddenly made me the bad guy. And I have nothing to say about it. Nothing I did, nothing I said made a difference. Having that happen to somebody, and being a person of color and having had my own identity ripped away from me when I wasn't expecting it, this play, it just, when I read it, it was like, oh yeah, this I get. And this is an important story to tell. Because we don't want to do these things to our neighbors. If we understood what we were doing when we other another, then I think we wouldn't do it. But we don't understand the harm it does. And so this play is really important in that way.
So, I mean, it's always a challenge to put a play in the best of circumstances. You are doing it in a minority language in Quebec, but then you're also going into a minority pool of actors. So tell me what it was like getting the cast of actors, getting the space. What did you had to do to,
Right.
get it?
Yes, challenge is the word. Challenge is always the word, particularly when you're developing something for a company who's never worked in Montreal before. The first thing I will say is we have an incredible community here. And so as soon as we said, we want to do this, we want to be in Montreal, the community came forward. Tisri Dunya, as I said, has been on this project for 3 years. Black Theater Workshop, I gave them a call, and they were like, come on in, we'll sit down, we'll chat, we'll see what we can help you with. Infinite Theater, Guy Sprung. I called him just to tell him what I was doing, and he jumped right in and, Deb, we can do this for you, we can do that for you. Without them, there is no way we'd be where we are right now. Absolutely no way. The other challenge, of course, is one of sensitivity and one of responsibility. We don't have to talk too much about appropriation. It's been a hot topic here in Montreal this summer. And so I was very aware going into that. And so, yes, when you work across culture, there's more challenges, and one of them is casting. So, for instance, normally I do one casting call, and there's so many actors that are hungry, I get more people than I can see in a day. The truth is this time we did 3 casting calls, and then we still had to go out and look individually, talk to people and say, hey, who do you know? Who can you find? And again, Tisri was very helpful because they're the one company that gathers people of color, not just blacks or not just this or just that. They have a good archive. And so I was able to sit down with Raoul, tell him what I was looking for, and have him give me names and reach out for me and bring them in.
And just about the linguistic issue, it's our first production, and of course we want to have other production, and of course French, like Francophone production, are one of our goals, because we also think that in Quebec we have to offer in French spaces to deconstruct Islamophobia. So it's a first step, and we know we have a lot of challenges, but we'll do it Francophone plays.
Now, Montreal, of course, is famous for its minority theaters. It has a long history, starting from, long ago, the first Jewish and Yiddish theaters,
That's
the
right.
black theaters. What do you want to achieve with a Muslim theater?
Can I take that one?
Yes, yeah.
I'll take that one, just because being in theater, I kind of see things differently. And so Black Theater Workshop, Siegel Center, they are very much committed to their communities, but they put art first, which is important. This company, on the other hand, is putting Muslims first. They are coming at art from a different way. And it's kind of like where I come from art as well in terms of theater. There's the theater practitioner who is the strict artist taking the artistic vision. My own training is in theater for development, which is looking at using theater as a tool within community. And so this company is sitting more within that community engaged, professional engaged, community engaged theater, which is very different from the classic trained theater.
Bochra, how about you?
I think it's a way to mettre les projecteurs. I don't have the English word for it, but
Put the spotlight on.
Yeah, to put the spotlight on how it's important to recognize that Muslim people need to share their own stories. And for me, that's what these kind of, historical theater places showed and said. It's a way to, to have a statement. We are here. We are part of the local culture, of the culture of Montreal. We are here, and we are part of the culture and the story of Canada, of Quebec. Even if we talk sometimes in English, sometimes in French. So it's a way to be here and to be recognized. So for me, it's a way to. It's a call of recognition.
We didn't talk about the cast, so just tell me who is playing who and a bit of their life stories as well.
Okay, let's start with the eldest, our grandpa, is Hakim, played by Matthew Cabway, classically trained actor, been here in Montreal forever. I've worked with him before. Wonderful man. I'm not going to say young man, because in this particular one we won't see the young so much. And in a lot of ways, it's interesting. He's kind of become the grandpa on the set as well, very much taking care of the younger ones, guiding. He's helping us out with our fight choreography as well. Really wonderful. Then we have our mom and dad. Christine Rodriguez plays mom, Kulsum, and our dad is played by Danny, and I've never used his last name, so of course I'm forgetting it now, Danny Hall. Danny comes from film, actually, which is really interesting, and so he's coming back to the theater for the first time in a while, so he's been like a kid in the candy store, opening up to it. And then our younger ones, we have Viji, who's playing Gafour. We have Amanda Silveira, who is playing Fatima. And we have Zishan, and his last name is escaping me as well, who is playing the role of Salhuddin. So it's a well-rounded cast, a mix of equity professional actors and some newcomers to the field. And yeah, we've become this little family in a way too. It's really interesting, especially the children. They've become like brothers and sisters. So I'm now seeing the same playfulness you'd see in a family, and it's put a life into the play. The other thing we were very careful of was to make sure that we had representation from the culture. And while only one of our cast members actually claims Pakistani origins, almost all of our cast members, except for two, have some connection to this culture. And so one of the things that has been different to a certain extent in rehearsal, a lot of directors come to the work with this idea of them being great visionaries. That's not my thing. I'm a facilitator. I take the best that people have to offer and I figure how to mesh it together. And so in this process, more so than in others, my cast has had a lot of leeway to say, hey, Deb, I like what you're doing, but this isn't how we would do it. And letting us explore that. And there's an authenticity to this piece because all theater is ensemble work, but in this one, each person took on that responsibility to take a look at it from the outside and to try to make it as integral as possible.
Bochra, your opening night is Thursday, September 27th. Who do you hope to see in the audience?
Everyone. Everyone is invited to learn about how an American or a Canadian family could live these kind of issues, and as Deborah said, how this big political issue is experienced in our everyday life. So we are waiting for every Montrealer, either francophone or anglophone, to come and to see the play. Of course, we want also Muslim communities to come and see the Domestic Crusaders, because it's a way for them to see, a narrative that is shared and created by one of them. And sometimes it's good not to be, when people talk about you, it's sometimes your identity. You don't have the power about your life, about the way you want to express yourself, and the way you want to express your identity. So the play is a way for them to see how Wajhat Ali talked about Muslim North American people, and I think it could be fun for them to see. But of course, it's for everyone.
Now, this is, of course, Canada's first Muslim theater company. Any thoughts about taking this show on the road and showing in other parts of Canada?
We would love to. Of course, it's also depend on our financial support, but we would love to, of course.
I do want to underline here that, yes, this company is the first Muslim company who has no shame about saying we are a Muslim company. But theater has not shied away from Muslims either, right? Other companies have taken it up. But what's so important about this company is the fact that it's not someone else talking for the community. This comes from the community and is going to the community. And so when we talk about who's going to be in the audience, as you've said, I really hope the Muslim community comes out to see it, because I want them to be in the audience with a traditional theater audience and see how much the traditional theater audience will value their stories as well. We need that validation. All people need that validation, to see someone else see their story and say, hey, that's kind of cool. That's what I really want, is that mix.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and sharing your stories. As we say, break a leg or break many legs on Thursday. And we hope to see more productions from your team. And
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.